Hi, everyone. I'm Dr. Steve Rasner, and welcome back to the LionHearted Live podcast. I got a really special guest tonight, a guy I've known a long time, and I am very, very anxious to share his life, his practice, what he's doing now with all my followers, because I know you're going to want to know who Dr. Mike Sonick is in a few minutes when I'm done. I first want to say, those of you that didn't make LionHearted Live in Philadelphia at the Rittenhouse, I worked my butt off for 3 to 4 months. What am I saying, 3 to 4? 6 months to put that together. It was a smashing success. And you know me. I don't come on here and do PR stuff. I wasn't even sure I was going to ever do it again because, you know, I'm just a person like you guys are. And I do things and I feel them out. And was it worthy to my crowd? I can tell you one thing, I prayed before that because I knew how much time and money you all invested bringing your staffs across the country. I certainly didn't make the tuition peanuts because I don't do things based on tuition. I do them based on what I think you'll get out of it. Anyway, here's the good news. It was fantastic. You're going to see some live testimonials real soon. And I decided to do it again next October. Right now, it's going to be a yearly event. I don't want to oversaturate it. You'll be hearing a lot about it if you get my emails, and thanks for tuning in. So let's talk about tonight. Mike Sonick fits in perfectly to the list of guests I've had on this podcast over the last, well, since Tony took over in March. You've heard me with Picos and Martel and, you know, a lot of people, my mind's going blank for a minute. And this is cool for me because these guys were the guys that I learned from to be able to create, I'll be honest with you, the Rasner Institute. So when these guys come in and from all over the country and I teach principles, you know, I didn't invent those principles. I learned them from people like Mike Picos, like Mike Sonick. And more than that, what I love about the guests that I get to bring on to share with you, you will never have me, you'll never see me bring a guest on whose sole purpose is to sell something he has to sell you, because I wouldn't have them on. They love to teach. I mean, Bill Strupp does have a giant ego, no doubt about it, but he loves to teach. That guy's 75 years old and holds a yearly event for 700 guests. Mike Sonick and all these guys are guys that get in my heart because I know how much they love to do. I just asked them, and we didn't really prep hard for this because I didn't think I had to, because I know what kind of guy he is, even though we're not in constant contact. Mike is a periodontist, and he would never say this, but he trained at some impressive places. He went undergrad to Colgate, got his DMD at the University of Connecticut, got his periodontal certificate at Emory, schools I couldn't have gotten into, I assure you. He's also received training at Harvard as well as Brandmark in Sweden. And he presently teaches at NYU, Yale, UConn, Zimmer, and a host of other places. He has a monthly, or not monthly, he'll tell you, cool study club in Fairfield, Connecticut that I was privileged to present my material at 15, 20 years ago. So, and we'll also talk about, check this out, his latest book, and he's written science books on clinical procedures, but his latest book is called Treating People, Not Patients. And he's got a lot of acclaim for that. Michael, welcome to the program.
Thank you very much, Steve. Pleasure to be here. Good to see you again.
Good to see you. So you were, we were getting, I haven't seen Mike face to face in a long time, and he was telling me, did I remember, because him and his wife laugh about the time I was at Fairfield presenting, and I didn't remember. I said, save it for the camera. What is it I did?
Well, you had a hot pepper, but we met you way before that. That was when you took one of my programs.
Yeah.
And excuse me, I have a little laryngitis today, so I may be a little hoarse. Too many airplanes. But we had you first at our study club maybe 25 years ago.
Okay.
And I had a small group. I've had the Fairfield County Dental Club's been in existence for 35 years, and I've had 350 people. different lecturers there.
Wow.
Over that time. Pretty much it's a who's who, from Coyce to Tarnow,
Whoa.
Pascal Monnier. I mean, all these, Steve Rasner. So they've all, Kirk Barrett. I mean, it's every year. This year we have Henrietta Lerner from Germany. We had Antonio from Italy. I have people from all over the world.
Well, slow down for a minute, because I want to be sure they know. He's not asking me to do this, but I know you want to know this, especially those of you on the East Coast. Where's the event at each, and how often?
It's we probably have 10 programs a year. It's called the Fairfield County Dental Club. It's just a continuing education society, and it's in Fairfield, Connecticut. We're about an hour outside of Manhattan. We have about 45 members of the club. It's now held in our teaching institute. You were there, I think, for the course, but when we had you speak, we did it in a hotel. We did that small group. And then we had you for a big event. It was so big, we had 400 people to see you at the Stanford Marriott. That was a really great event.
Oh, thanks.
That was a lot of fun.
Didn't
That was
remember.
right after you spoke for the Maddow brothers.
Okay. I'm doing the University of Connecticut. I mean, Connecticut State Dental.
Yeah,
Remember
I see that.
Yeah. So go ahead.
So your programs were great then. It was a very different program. It was before you were doing implants, and it's when you talked about your poor town and community that you were in and how you built this practice. And what I really liked about you is you had the great video that you made.
About my mom.
The smoke coming out of your ears. You jumped out of bed with your clothes on. It was really, really funny. So we had you twice.
Okay.
So when I have a speaker for my group that is phenomenal and can really cross over to the team, I'll bring them back a year or two later. I did that with Kirk Barrett. I did it with Uchi Odiato. I don't know if you know him from Toronto. And so I'll have about every 3 years, I'll have a big event where I'll invite maybe 400 people to a hotel, and we'll do a team building exercise. But mostly it's a smaller group. I mean, if you can see someone like, who we have this way, we have Leanne Brady is coming this year. She's ending it, or you can see someone like Pascal Monnier and only have 40 people in the room where they come from out of town. I don't know if I can get him today because he now has his own institute, but he's been there twice. And
you mentioned you had Tarnow before, and
Tarnow's been there multiple times.
Coyce.
Stephen Chu's been there. Coyce has been there. But it's been going on since I started this back in 1989. So back then, continuing education wasn't where it is. So this was the center in the tri-state area because nobody was doing that. Now that more people do it, like the CSDA where you're speaking, most of their speakers are people who've spoken in my study club, and now they didn't even have that. And now we have the online thing, so it's very different.
Well, let me ask you a question, and I don't know. I mean, I don't think it's obvious. I mean, you're 70 years old. You certainly don't have to keep. Why do you keep doing this? The thing you're talking about.
It's passion. It's actually 71. So the reason that I do it is because I love it, and it gives me a sense of purpose.
And that's what I'm talking about. That's what I'm talking about. I'm sorry. You just don't hear guys. I knew he'd say something like that. Like, he doesn't have to do this. You know how hard it is to put one program together? I'm serious. You have no idea. You don't know who's going to come. It's very often you either break even or lose money. It is that. And once it's in you, and because you form these connections, not just with the speaker, him as a host, you form connections with the people in there who are like-minded. I'm sorry, I had to say that.
No, that's okay. I like your passion. That's why I invited you to speak. And then you came and took my courses because I was one of the first to do the institutes, which I still do. I still teach a lot. I teach two things. I teach clinical, and I also teach culture. But my true passion right now is purpose and culture.
Is that what the book's about?
Yeah, the book's about human connectivity.
We'll come back
It's about
to
bringing
that.
hospitality to medicine. So I have a moonshot, and I have a lot of mentors that your listeners will not know. People who are in the business industry, who are in the hospitality industry. That's where I spend a lot of my time. I still teach at NYU, and I still teach at the Zimmer Institute. I'm lecturing at the Academy of Aesthetic Dentistry, Implant Dentistry next week. I just came back from lecturing at the American Academy of Periodontology, so I'm still involved in all those
What
things.
kind of stuff are you talking about usually when you go to those places?
In clinical?
Yeah.
Clinical, well, periodontics and implant dentistry. I think I do a lot on anterior aesthetics. I do a lot on bone regeneration.
Uh-huh.
At the AAID next week, I'm talking about growth factors. I'll be talking about GEM 21 and, placental membranes and emdogame
and all the membranes they have out there, like
yeah. And what do you use? There's over 1 million different choices, but literally 1 million choices that you can do for grafting. And everybody has their own little formula, but the biology is the same, So I try to demystify all of the things that we do. And you know how I teach. I try to break it down and make it very simple, like I do when I'm at my patients. I don't try to talk in an ivory tower way. But during the course of COVID, I wrote the book Treating People, Not Patients, which is all about how I deliver care. And you and I are soulmates that way. I mean, the patients don't care about a frication or a margin or a chamfer or a finish line. Whereas what they care about is, do they trust you? Do they connect with you?
Mm-hmm.
Do they believe you? Do
Sure.
they think you're honest? Do they feel safe? So those are the things that I teach. And the most important thing that I think I teach is to build your team, because I'm useless without my team. You know that. It's like, you go for an emergency on a Sunday by yourself in the office. It's like an hour visit, for something that would take you 2 minutes if you had your team with you.
Yeah.
And,
I had a patient on this subject. It's perfect. I had a patient in my chair yesterday in hygiene, and I had an easy day. I mean, this is going to sound weird. It wasn't for me. I did an all-on, and those of you that know me or just tuning in for the first time, I'm not an all-on center. I'm actually anti that and catch a lot of flack from a lot of my followers because it's a wide range of people you talk to when you've had a podcast for 6 years, and we all have different reasons why we do what we do. There are clearly some patients, in my view, that are all on patients. And so I had one yesterday, and I don't like scheduling a lot of other stuff. I have a colleague, so I share that colleague's anesthesiologist. And so I'm always asking her, because he's an hour away. So I said, so you working for Dr. Such and Such this week? She says, yeah, I'm working for him tomorrow. I said, what are you doing? She says, we're doing 6 arches. I'm serious. We're doing 6 arches. One's all zygos and pterygoids. And this guy's a good doctor, a very good doctor. But that is so, I won't even do a double arch because I don't want to rush. I don't even care about the productivity. I wouldn't care if you doubled the fee and that was accepted. I don't want to work that hard. And I don't actually think, this is me, it's great for the patient. I think patients get acclimated to the one surgery. I wait 6 weeks and I do the other. That's just me. You don't have to follow me. But anyway, I was at my desk like chilling because I had already finished. And she walks in, my hygienist, kind of a little aggravated, and says, look, you did this. Do you know who such and such is? I said, yeah. She says, and she's real picayune. So this patient had implants placed prior to me. And when I went to restore them, the distal molar had drifted mesally, and there was no room to restore the next implant. So I said, you got to go into ortho. So it took a long time. It took like 6-7 months to distalize the molar correctly. And then I restored her. And so my hygienist is saying, you went through all that, and she just doesn't like the premolar, number 12, distal to the cuspid. She says it looks boxy and it looks short. And she's not making that big. You really want to see her? And I said, yeah, I really want to see her. So I go back and look at her, and this is why I'm saying this. And I look, and I don't know what to think because I don't know what I'm going to see. I ask, let me see what you're talking about. She's exactly right. It does look boxy. It could be better. And so I said, you're exactly right. I agree with you. Things happen. Guess what? We're going to do it over. It's not a big deal. It's screw retained. All my implants, 90% of them are screw retained. That is how you develop a long-term relationship. I never, ever drive a decision from a patient that's not really happy by what's it going to take for me? Even if I have to remake the crown from scratch, I don't care. That lady, that patient paid me a lot of money because I'm not a low-fee dentist. And they deserve my best. And sometimes you don't give your best for whatever reason it is. I'm sorry. The floor is to you.
Now you make a good point. You know, Danny Meyer is one of my mentors, and Danny Meyer is the owner of Shake Shack, or was. He sold it, you know. So Danny Meyer started Gramercy Tavern, started Union Square Cafe.
Wow.
11 Madison Park. You know, he's a billionaire. When he went public with Shake Shack, he became a billionaire. But he started his business with a small restaurant in Union Square. And he wrote the book Setting the Table, which is basically the Bible in hospitality. And if your readers want to learn a lot about hospitality and in the hospitality industry, read that book.
Setting the Table?
Pardon? Setting the Table. Yeah, Setting the Table by, I must have a copy here somewhere. Well, anyway, I do. But it's, here it is. I'll show you a few books.
Yeah, show me a few books.
Yeah.
They'll love this.
Yeah, we're on videos here, right, too?
Yeah.
So this is Setting the Table by Danny Meyer. And he wrote this book, it's probably about 15 years old, maybe longer. This was written in, I'm trying to find the title at the time here. I don't know. I can't see. It says everything here, but the date has been written. So anyway, it's about 15 years old, probably. And this one actually is inscribed to me. I have a few of them. This one is inscribed by Danny Meyer to me. And I went to one of his restaurants and he says, "Here's to the power of hospitality in restaurants and in the dental chair." Enjoy, Danny Meyer. Wrote this in 2018. And I published my book last year. And my book is very similar to his. It's based upon my experience in treating people and experiences. And one of the things that Danny Meyer says is that when a patient or customer has a bad experience in a restaurant, you don't want that customer to leave saying bad things about you. He says you have an opportunity, he calls it, to write the end of the story. You don't want the customer to say, or in our case, a patient, you know, I spent thousands of dollars with this guy and he sold me a bill of goods. And then when I had a problem, he said, live with it. Or he smoothed it over, which a lot of dentists do. You know, they distance themselves from the problem. What I like to do is run toward the problem. And I have problems, you know, I'm a surgeon, I have problems every day. There's always an implant that has a problem or an infection or something. Maybe it's a problem that I created, maybe it's a problem that they created, maybe it's a problem from another dentist, maybe I don't know. So I have an opportunity to be able to go there and fix that and to make them whole again. And that is more important than when things go right. When things go right, people expect it. People don't expect complications. But when you have a complication, that's when you have an opportunity to really build your practice. You know, like when I get a call on a Sunday morning, I'm not saying, I got to go to the office. Like, that's an opportunity, because who else is going to go to the office on a Sunday, take care of that patient, or do what needs to be done to make them feel a little bit better? So I think that's really important.
How did that book, you know, did you start thinking about that book, and when? What made you?
I started thinking about it as a kid. You know,
Really?
I'm from the hospitality industry. You know, I grew up. You know, I don't know if you know. I don't know if you know a guy named John Anderson, Steve Anderson.
Yeah.
So I had dinner with him. Actually, I had dinner with him at Union Square Cafe last year, and we're talking about hiring and the importance of hiring. And I'm telling him my system, and he said, "I got to tell you the most important question I asked a new employee." I go, "What's that?" He goes, "How old were you when you first started working? What was your first job?" And his first job was delivering newspapers on a bicycle. And my first job was working with my dad, stacking bricks, chopping wood, delivering furniture. So I have a strong work background. My father was a World War II veteran, and he said hard work never killed anybody. And then I got attracted to the hospitality industry. I waited on tables, I bartended, I played cocktail piano, I lifeguarded. So I started to see what it was like to give good service and what it was like to receive good service. And so I've always paid attention to it. So when I set up my initial office, it was 600 square feet, and I just made sure everything was perfect. And that's just the way I'm wired. I'm OCD, And I'm that way. I'm a periodontist. Most periodontists have OCD. We work in a millimeter. I mean, it's very serious. We take it so seriously, that little papilla. Like my mentor, Dennis Tarner, goes, I'm a papillologist. I just care about this little papilla. But you have to be very, very, very conscientious if you're going to be a good periodontist or a good dentist or anything. But I'm also conscientious of every detail in my office. Fingernails, hair, carpet, lighting, smell, music. And I'm super sensitive to all that. It's like a gift, and it's also a burden because I can't eat many places. Like I can't eat off anything but white plates because that's just the way I'm wired. So I have a menu in my reception area of what you can have to eat and drink when you're waiting.
Really?
Yeah, it's a menu out there. You can have a decaf, the Starbucks coffees, the Corona, these decafs. There's herbal teas, there's non-herbal teas. There's juices. I used to give patients like a choice of like 4,000 different CDs to listen to. I downloaded them all. Now you can stream everything. Headphones, spa masks.
This guy makes me look like vanilla. And I thought I was like this. And I'm literally taking mental notes, I swear to God, right now, thinking, God, I love that. You have Starbucks coffee?
Yeah. Decaf and caffeinated.
Do you have a giant reception room?
A what?
A very big reception room?
No, it's not that big. It seats about 10 people. It's not that big.
Where's the refreshment center on the side of it?
No, we deliver too. We don't want people making their own coffee. We ask them what would they like. We get them to them.
Really?
Yeah, everybody comes in. We get you something.
So somebody comes out. This is great. I had no idea. I thought we were going to talk about papillae, guys.
We're not going to talk about teeth. We're going to talk about culture.
This is beautiful.
And hospitality.
Talking about culture from a guy that's done it, obviously, and has some great mentors. I'm getting that book. Hold your book up while we're at it.
Yeah.
It's behind you on the right.
Yeah, it's treating people, not patients. So, yeah. And I'm going to brag a little bit.
Go.
On the cover right here, there's an endorsement from Danny Meyer, okay, who is the most successful hospitalian in the world. He has more money than any other restaurateur. He is the most respected restaurateur in the world. You mention his name to any great restaurateur, and they've all read his book.
All right, I got to come back to, no, stay there. I'm going to come back to your waiting room because I actually want to know about this.
I have a lot to say about the waiting room. I have a whole chapter on decor.
Danny Mentor. I mean, Danny
Meyer. Danny Meyer, my mentor.
Okay, you don't pick up the phone and look him up in Yellow Pages. How do you connect with him?
How do I connect with Danny Meyer?
How did you first connect with him?
I started eating in his restaurants. I read his book. He's not a close friend of mine. Matter of fact, I've never met him. I've corresponded with him. We emailed back and forth. I asked him for, and he did it. I asked him to come. I have had a staff party in his restaurants for the last 20 years. Okay. Every year I bring my entire team to New York. It's a big day. We drop about $6,000 or $7,000 on the team, pay them, and they spend the whole day with us from 9 o'clock until midnight. And I take them through, we go to Broadway plays, I brought them backstage on Broadway.
Look at you. Really?
I take them on sailboats around the island. We've taken this 90-foot wooden sailboat to the Statue of Liberty. And in my staff, we're in Connecticut. A lot of people have never been to Manhattan, which is weird. It's only an hour away. And a lot of people, every year is their first Broadway play.
Really?
And sometimes I know some people on Broadway because my mentor, who you probably don't know, is Dr. Van Dyke. He's a periodontist. His son is a Broadway. His son plays piano on Broadway. He's a what's it called? The musical director. And he's done Kinky Boots. He's won Tonys and all of that. And I've known him since he's been 2. So if he's doing a play, I'll call him up. I go, can we go backstage? He'll bring my whole team backstage.
How many staff members do you have?
25.
So that's not bad. $7,000 on.
Oh, it's a great day. They talk about it all year. Yeah. And it brings camaraderie. They just.
So I have a real question for you, and they're gonna wonder. Even I'm wondering. And that's a generous day. Yeah. Do you also give them Christmas bonus money gifts in addition to all that?
We have them on a bonus system. It's a certain percentage that we do.
Okay.
Yeah, we don't give them an X dollars amount. So my partner runs all that. But let's say our overhead's 20%. Mm-hmm. If they our overhead per staff is 20%. If that number of dollars that we take in is such that 20% of that is more than they're getting paid. They get the difference, you know. So let's say we do $100 a month,
Yeah.
and we pay them $20. So next month we do 110. So there's $10 above that. So we give them the 20% of that.
Okay.
As their bonus, you know.
Okay.
So we get bonuses throughout the year.
Do you ever calculate, or do you know the answer? What's the average your staff's been with you?
Oh, it varies. We talk about it all the time. They've been with me for anywhere from 1 year to 25 years.
Okay.
So, you know, I have about 5 people that have been there over 20 years. Mm-hmm. And then I have a lot that have been there 10 to 12. Mm-hmm. We don't have a lot of turnover. That's a big part of what I teach is team building. I'll go into an office and I'll spend some time with the whole team. We talk about their culture. We do a lot of personality testing. So by the time I hire somebody, so for every 200 people that apply, maybe one will get an interview. It's very hard to get an interview with me. So a lot of people say I can't hire staff. We get many people apply, and
where do you find them, Michael?
I go to Indeed. I have a whole process for it. I could tell you about it if you'd like to know the process.
Go ahead. Tell me.
It's on my website if you want to get it. My website is michaelsonick.com. There's over like 250 pages of free material there. They can download my hiring process. But we go to Indeed, and they have to send in their resume, and then we have to fill out a culture index, which is a personality profile that tells me what they're like.
Okay.
It looks at 7 different characteristics. You know, how autonomous, how detailed they are, how social, how logical, a bunch of things. And then I look at that. Only about 25% fill out that culture index, so we already 75% are gone. I look at that, and then if I like the culture index in a resume, I'll have Taylor, my office coordinator. She'll do a Zoom interview. They pass the Zoom interview. They come in to have what we call a blink interview, which is, you know, out of Malcolm Gladwell. And I'll meet with them for like 3 or 4 minutes, so my partners. And if they pass that, then they come back to work with us for a half day. So by the time they get to the blink interview, it's usually about 1 out of every about 200 people that apply make it there. And then we ask them some questions there. I have a whole series of questions that I ask to sort of figure out.
This is on your website?
Yeah. Yeah.
Cool. So what do you look for? Because I have a lot to ask you. You're going to be very popular, by the way.
Well, we have a series of core values in our office. So, and we have a mission statement, which is posted. I'll tell you, it's to improve the quality of our patients' lives. That's our mission statement. Okay. It's not about dentistry. And then we have 5 core values. And so the core values are integrity. So I look for integrity. How do
you find integrity in the process you're doing?
Well, we can't test for it. So, but you can talk. You can't. There's no test for integrity, but you can talk for it. And I'll ask them how they handle certain situations. If they start to gossip or talk negatively about anybody in the world, they're gone. All right. Okay. How was your last offer? Well, you know, they didn't really respect me and they held me back. Okay. What happened? And they start to talk negatively. If they start to do anything like that, they're out of there. I ask them what they like to do. And if they say, you know, they just sit at home and they do anything, I can see that they really don't have much of a life. They're probably not right for our practice. I asked them if they've looked at what do they like about our practice. Mm-hmm. If they go, well, you know, it's convenient at home. I go, that's it. They haven't been on our website and realized who we are. You know, we got over 1,000 5-star reviews. If they don't know all that and that we're one of the best practices in the country, if they don't know that, then they have no zero curiosity. So they're gone. So integrity is something we look at by asking them questions and how to handle situations. I look for something. I've done a lot of training in NLP, neuro-linguistic programming, so I look for a stressor. I try to ask questions to see if they get angry at anything.
Like what?
So Steve, how was your day today? Okay. You know, did you have a good day? Did anything bother you today? And they tell me, no. So what is something that happens at the job site or at work that really bothers you, that gets you upset? Mm-hmm. And if they say it's like, you know, when somebody has no integrity, if somebody lies, if somebody has a lack of integrity, I go, and then how do you handle that? I go, there's not much I can do because I don't own the practice. I go, okay, this is a person that's frustrated. But I already know that from my test, because my test shows who they are as a human being. It also shows who they are at work. And I could look at stress levels. So if they have a tremendous more stress at work, which I can tell from that test, I start to tell them, I go, are you more stressed at work? And they're going to either tell me or not tell me. And I probe. I can usually probe within about 3 or 4 minutes of meeting somebody and find out what their stressor are. I know exactly what's going to annoy them. And I get them to the point to talk about what bothers them. And I want to see how angry they get. My partner, Dr. Ma, has been with me 11 years. He is Asian. He grew up in mainland China. Doesn't show a lot of emotion. Very logical. I call him Mr. Spock. But during my interview process, I got him to get angry. And what he got angry was a co-resident that mistreated a patient and wasn't held accountable. And he thought he hurt the patient. And he actually went to the chairman of the department. And he says, this is not fair for the patients. And it really bothered him. So I said, this guy has such high integrity that he's going to take care of it. And I like that about him. And he's been with me 11 years. We don't fight. He's got high integrity, you know. We're very different.
We might have to make a part 1, part 2. I'm just telling you. This shit is good. I'm just going to edit that bit. You got some good stuff here, buddy. Keep going.
You should read my book.
I should.
Yeah. And by the way, it's audio. Okay. I mean, you this is right up your alley. It's all the stuff that you do.
Well, it's more than me. It's me on steroids. Go ahead.
Yeah. So anyway, integrity is a really big piece.
Oh, I got something for you. I'm sorry. Maybe you want to do next. I just did a live business course 3 weeks ago. It was 16 high-end practices from around the country. One guy, great dentist, Javier Quios from Costa Rica. 2 days of this kind of stuff. Keep it in your brain. It's next October 17th to 19th in Philadelphia. I mean, I might bring you in if you were available for an hour and a half talk. This is beautiful stuff. I'm serious. I'll email it all to you.
Okay.
Yeah. It's not a long ride.
No, that's fine. My goal is to put together a team of people in dentistry, medicine, and hospitality to create a hospitality center so that people can teach this. So my goal is to change the way healthcare is delivered.
Okay. I'm sorry. I had to say things on my brain since they're in there. Okay. So you were speaking about the integrity of your associate of 11 years.
Yeah, we're talking about how I hire. So let me just go over my core values. It's integrity is number 1. 2 is servant-hearted. You have to be able to serve patients and be in a service-oriented business. So you have to have a servant-hearted mentality. Second, third is you have to be a good teammate. So you can't say, well, that's not my job, man. We do everything together. We all wear the same outfit in our office. Everyone looks the same. You can't tell who's the doctor, who's an assistant, who's a hygienist, who's front desk, who's administrative, who's creative. We have all sorts of jobs in our office. And so teammate, integrity, servant-hearted, real important. And then we have health. You have to be health-oriented. I can't say you have to be healthy because I can't do it for the Disabilities Act, but I do want healthy people. I would really want athletes in my office. I'd like everyone to be a professional athlete because it's a demanding job. We run around. And the last thing is you have to be education-oriented. You have to want to teach and be a constant learner. Now those are the 5 things. Now, if you don't have integrity, you're out. If you're not a teammate, you're out. If you're not servant-hearted, you're out. Those non-negotiables. So if we have somebody that's working for us and one of those things are off on a daily basis, they're not going to stay around. Health and education, not as much, but those 3 are really important. And so I talk about these things during my interview process. And I said, do you know them? Because they're on our website. And we start to talk to them about those things. And they're going to start to tell me, I can see pretty quickly, who people are. I'm very good at knowing people immediately. So I had you back twice to speak. I mean, I knew who you were as soon as I met you. I think my greatest talent, and I joke about this a lot, my greatest talent is I'm a great dental talent scout. I have met so many people before they became well-known in our field. I met Frank Spear, years ago, and I pointed to my friend Bob Fiala, who was president of ADA. I said to him, I go, this guy's one of the best dentists in the country. I go, who's he? I go, that's Frank Spear. You never heard of him? He goes, no, I haven't. I met John Coyce when he was showing green slides with yellow type on it, when there were 9 people in the audience. I go, this guy is going to be one of the greatest. David Garber walks in. I go, this guy's good. He goes, yeah, he's pretty good. I met David Garber when he was young, okay? I met Christian Coachman when he was working in the lab in Salama's office and had him 3 days in my office. I said, I gave him the first gig in private practice to teach. He's been in my office 3 times. And he taught me a lot. So I meet a lot of people early on before they become really well known. Lorenzo Tavelli, who you probably don't know, is 32 years old. He's one of the best periodontists in the country right now.
I don't know.
Nobody knows him yet. He's going to be well known. So Dennis Tarnow, my mentor, I met him when he was 37. I was 29. I go, what days do you teach at NYU? He goes, these 2 days. I go, can I come teach the days you're there? He became my mentor. He wasn't Dennis Tarnow, man. He was a 37-year-old kid, working in a clinic, trying to make it in New York City. So what's the point I'm saying? That's another point about mentorship. That's important. I forgot. I got off track a little bit. But I think it's important that you have a great team around you. You know how to hire them because they make us great at what we do. My team is more important than my patients. My patients cannot abuse my team. If they abuse my team, I tell them, my team, I said, you have ability to fire them if you need to, if you can't manage them. And they walk around with a tremendous amount of confidence. If they're complaining about the fee, they need a courtesy, give it to them. If you need to smooth things over, remove the blockages to care in your practice. Most dentists have an anti-sales team in play. We're gonna put you on hold and listen to an infomercial about how great we are as you're being held for 5 minutes. By the time we pick up, we're gonna say, the doctor will call you back. What's a good time to call you? I go, well, right now is a good time to call me. Can you put him on the phone? When I ask for the doctor's cell number so I can call him after hours, give it to me. All right, give me a cell number. Oh, we can't give that out. My cell number is on my business card. All right, I give my cell number to every new patient. Yeah. So we do as much as we can to really make it easy for people to say yes.
You hear what he's saying? I used to, in my early presentations, probably when I presented for you, I used to tell my front desk, here are your 2 challenge rules. That means you walk in. These happen a lot with patients. Somebody's will tell you they're contesting a fee. So I would tell them, you have up to $200 at any time. At that time, it's what it was. We're talking the year 1990, probably 2000.
Right.
That if you think in your heart it's not, it's worth using that to write that off with the patient, it's up to you. It's your decision. I will never get mad at you for making that decision. Number 2, if the patient says something like, we just lost our insurance, we really still want to come to you. Back then I took insurance. Could you help us out? The worst thing you could say is, let me check with the manager or the doctor.
Right.
Do not do that. You have my permission to think it over. I'm not talking about a patient that breaks every other appointment or somebody that comes in for treatment and comes back every 3 years. No, you know what a good patient is. You have my permission to give up to 20% off at any time. Maybe I'll break even on that patient or I'll make 20% less. That's for sure. Listen, you can't be driven by strict, harsh policy or you won't be successful long term. You just won't be. It's one of the reasons I believe that the corporate takeover in dentistry is going to fail for many of them, because they're too corporately driven. There's too many policies, and patients don't want that. So
you see that in non-corporate dentistry. You see that with the single payer dentistries. They have a corporate policy. You can't have a one policy for everybody.
No, you can't.
I'm going to quote another book for you, right? Yeah. Here's another book you should read. Unreasonable Hospitality by Will Guidara. Did you know him?
No.
All right. You ever heard of 11 Madison Park, the restaurant in New York?
I think
it was the number 1 restaurant in the world. It was owned by Danny Meyer. He brought in Will Guidara, who is 35, 36 now, as a partner, sold it to him, and Will Guidara, 3 years later, it was the number 1 restaurant in the world, okay? Because his book is called Unreasonable Hospitality.
Okay.
It's the number 1 bestseller in hospitality. Actually, it's higher than Danny Meyer's book, okay? So Will Guidara has since sold the restaurant because he had a difference of opinion with his chef. It's now a vegan restaurant. Still very good. It's the only 3-star Michelin vegan restaurant in the world.
Okay.
It's very expensive, and it's really unbelievable service. Will Guidara, one of the things that he says in his book is that you have to be individual to every client that comes in there. He goes, there is not a policy. So an example, I'll tell you a funny story from his book.
Okay.
He's got 4 people there. They're from Iowa or somewhere in the Midwest, and they're having lunch. And they go, this is our last lunch in New York. And he goes, where have you been? And they mentioned all the different great restaurants. He goes, but we're ending our restaurant here with you, Will. And Will was on the floor. Now, he's not a chef. He was running the front of the house. And, we have a front of the house and a back of the house, just like in the dental office, the front office, the back, and they always, so he's running the front. And he walks up to me, he goes, well, what's been great? They tell him, he goes, you have any regrets? You know what, one thing we never had? Because what? Because we never had a New York City street hot dog. Because you haven't. Now, he's dressed up in an Armani suit. To eat there, it's like $500 a person. So he goes back into the kitchen and he runs out in the street and he buys one hot dog and he gives it to the chef. And the chef is his partner. Now he's Swiss trained, and a Swiss trained chef in a Michelin 3-star restaurant. You cannot tell them anything, okay? He goes, I'm not going to serve a hot dog in this restaurant. He goes, please plate it. Take one hot dog, just put it into quarters, plate it. So he talks the guy into it. He plates it, puts a swish there of a mustard, something to ketchup, a little sauerkraut. He comes out about 15 minutes later and he serves them this hot dog. Now, this is the best restaurant in the world, but they're not going to talk about being the best restaurant. They're going to talk about the fact that they listened to them and they gave them that hot dog. That's called a wow experience. And those people are going to be talking about that for the rest of their lives. I want every one of my patients to leave my office and not talk about how great I sutured or how well known I am as a periodontist or that I lectured at some national meeting. I want them to talk about that they said their daughter, their daughter was having a problem with acne. And I said, I have a great dermatologist that's not in my town, but 4 towns over. And by the way, here's his card. And I make a phone call and I get them in there when they can't get in. That's what they're going to remember.
Yeah, we arrange, I don't think this is a big deal, but it's a nice thing for you guys to hear. When you have a patient in your chair and you're referring them to endodontics, that's a common referral unless you have your own endo, or peri or whatever it is. We actually offer and do make the referral right there in the office for the patient. So they're literally walking up, we're asking, when would you like to have it done? My office calls the referral doctor. We don't give them a card. We give them a card for a reminder. And we make the appointment right on the phone. So good example of that is I had a...
Did you send the x-ray too?
Sometimes, yeah, sure, we do, yeah. I had a patient 2 weeks ago. She was mad at me. So I did a crown on number 31. It's 4 months later. It needed endo. And she was going out of town. This is a Monday. She was going to England on Thursday. And she Thursday. And she couldn't get in tomorrow. So I had 1 day to get a referral for the endo. So we called the endodontist. I said, look, I got a patient here. You got to help me out. Sure enough, we came back. Got the patient in for that office for the endo on Wednesday. She went to England. When she comes back, I'm doing the crown over. My point is I didn't have to go to that extreme, and it doesn't maybe measure up to getting a hot dog on the corner, but it's a philosophy of going really to the end. This is a patient that had not done a lot with me, which is another reason I wanted to please. Listen, you either want to be in 100% or not. And he's right. It's not just your clinical skills, but you do have to have that. You can do all these things Michael's talking about. And if your crowns come out every 6 months, it's not going to matter. Agreed?
Right. Yeah. Well, there's a restaurant guide, Zaggett's.
Yeah.
You may remember it.
Yeah, I know.
And they judged every restaurant by 3 things: the food, the decor, and the service.
So talk to me for a few minutes, because you mentioned, and we've been talking so many cool things. You mentioned about the decor of the reception room.
Yeah.
Can you go back to that?
Sure. So before a patient calls your office, how many times do they have an experience with your office and your operation before they see you as a dentist?
Never.
It's a lot. It's a lot.
What do you mean?
How many touch points does a patient have before they meet you?
Oh, okay.
So by the time that you walk in the room and go, hello, Mrs. Jones, I'm Dr. Rasner. Nice to meet you.
Right. Several.
Yeah. There's so many touch points before that.
Yeah.
Reception's one of them. It's the referral. Yeah. And it's of course the website. That's another thing. And social media before they come there. And then it's the neighborhood. And then it's what does your office outside look like? Is there any garbage around that area? And then they walk in. It's the parking lot. It's the reception room. The greeting of the receptionist, the assistant, all those things. There's like 15 things that happen before you meet them. So when you walk in the room, if they're all done properly, they're going to go, they say, I've been waiting to meet you.
Yeah.
It's like you're the star, the Broadway show that, walks on.
Yeah.
My first chapter is called Showtime. It's all about running your office like a Broadway performance. It's a show.
Michael, that's exactly what I say. I tell
Showtime.
my staff in the morning meetings,
Yep.
you've heard me say this, every day. I know we were here yesterday. I know we were here for the last 24 weeks. Every day is a Broadway play in this office. It's our performance, which goes from clinical to making people feel valued. Go ahead.
Nobody wants to know about the fact that you had a stomach ache. I always say, you're waiting. You're coming from Iowa. Again, same family from Iowa.
Yeah.
There was a Wilger there. Now they're going to Broadway show. And Wilger and what's his name? Who's the guy from Australia? Wolverine. Hugh Jackman. Hugh Jackman is on the Broadway. 6-week limited performance. He gets up there. He hurt his knee the night before. He goes, I'm not going to dance tonight. I'm just going to walk through the steps. And my voice is a little sore. I have a little laryngitis because I've been screaming. So I'm just going to mouth the words. Okay. No, I'm sorry. I paid $200 for this ticket. I came all the way from Iowa for this. But it's more important when a patient's in our chair, isn't it? It's like, it's a big deal. Yeah. Not to us. We've done this thousands of times. For them, it's a big deal. So you can't, it's no personal problems. I don't know if you know Myron Finkel. Do you know him? He's a dentist in New York City. He's now 80. He lives in New Jersey. He was my first mentor. I worked for him when I was 27. His son, Sivan Finkel, is a well-known aesthetic dentist. Every day, Myron said to me when I was in his office, he'd go like this, Mike, showtime. And he'd clap his hands. So I do that today. I walk into my office and I say it to myself. I open the door and I go, showtime, let me be the gift. So I added that. So I want to be the gift to the patient. That's another conversation.
These are such cool ideas, man. They really are.
Well, I have your book around here somewhere of all the little ideas that you had.
The protocol book, What to Do When.
It's somewhere. It's in here somewhere. I just looked at it the other day.
Yeah.
But by the way, because that protocol book, my protocol book is this thick. Mm-hmm. Every time something goes wrong, we come up with a new protocol immediately.
Beautiful. Wow.
Yeah.
I really didn't know this side of you. I obviously saw the book, Treating People, Not Patients, and know a lot.
Nobody knows this side of me unless you spend a day with me in my program. I just did the program for 40 people at ZimV, oral surgeons, periodontists, people from Canada, all over the country. They came in there and they thought I was going to teach them treatment plan. And they walked out of it and they go, holy shit. I didn't know what we were walking into. And I do it with a lot of humor too. I'm not being funny today with you, more serious. But anyway, back to that area, you walk into your office. Yeah. When a patient walks in there, how many times you get to make a first impression? You get none. You get one, that's it. So everything's got to be perfect. So the reception area, some of the things that your listeners can do immediately. I have fresh fruit there. I had to take it away during COVID, but I have a beautiful bowl. It's like a Williams-Sonoma bowl. It's actually Simon Pierce, which is a well-known Irish glassmaker. So this big Simon Pierce with all fresh fruit in it. Every week we get new flowers delivered. Every Sunday my staff gets fresh fruit. We have about 20 magazines, all nicely displayed. We have aromatherapy box underneath the table that's wafting out nice things. I've written, there's a few of them here. I've written all these books. I've written 4 books on cosmetics. Okay. I just show beautiful before and after pictures. Here's something you'll like, it's like,
sure.
You see that?
Oh, yeah.
These kind of cases. Changing lives. I mean, I have them from implants, from single teeth. I got my 4 books out there. I have brochures that I've written myself.
Are those books for sale on your website?
No, that works. They're free on my website as a PDF.
Okay.
You can download everything, but I don't sell them. I give them away. I'll send you a few copies if you'd like. That was today's talk right before I got on. We were talking about, I got to get them up on Amazon and sell them. So someone can buy them if they want to. Because when I lecture, a lot of the dentists I lecture for ask me to send them to them. So I send them to them.
So you lecture, a lot of guys watch this podcast of mine who do put on lectures and stuff. So you give a presentation just on this stuff, correct?
I give a presentation on this. If you want more of this, I have a series of 10 videos that are on my website. They're like $497 for 10 modules on this. Comes with a workbook. You can credential your team. I go into offices and I teach it. I do keynotes for study clubs. I'm doing something every week somewhere. And this is sort of like a big part of my life right now.
Let me ask you this a couple of minutes that we have left. The question is, how do you keep your teams? Like, a lot of guys will go back, even myself, and this has really been the most, honestly, I think it's been the most refreshing, stimulating change for me, maybe all the podcasts that I've done, and I've done a lot. But even myself will say, well, you go in and you present this in a team meeting. We're going to start changing. We're going to change slowly because we want to be the best we can be. How do you keep your team motivated to keep doing this? Do you have morning meetings? Do you have monthly meetings? What do you do?
We do it all. We do a lot. One of the things that I've learned from my readings, especially from Danny Myers, is that they're volunteers. Your team are volunteers. They can leave whenever they want. They're not indentured servants. So every day I have to rehire them. And they don't have to be great for me. I got to be great for them. So there's an interesting expression that the life you lead is the life you teach. So if you lead a really good life, if you have to walk the talk, I pick up the garbage. I help. If there are boxes in the reception area and they got to be put away, I go say, hey, put these boxes away. We can't leave them out of patients coming. I grab the box first. I go, could someone give me a hand? And I go down the stairs and do it. During COVID, I cleaned the whole office myself, basically on my hands and knees, cleaning it all. I like doing that stuff, so it's not hard for me because I'm a neat freak. And so all those things I have to do by leading. And I have in the office, I have 25 employees, but I may have 20 people, 15 people, 16 people there a day. I make sure everybody gets touched that day. When I say touched, I mean hey, Steve, how you doing? How's your sister doing? I heard she was sick. Okay. And I will, and my door is always open. If there's any problem, you come and talk to me. So you come and talk to me if there's problems because I want to make it smooth. I have a lot of things that I do, and and I don't have time to go over it with you right now. But the most important thing is I hire the right people. We have the right culture. So if the right culture doesn't exist, then my team is going to say this person's not working out. And so every now and then I have somebody that's not working out for a while. And so last night I met with one of my hygienists. She's my newest high employer. She's a phenomenal hygienist, but she's very stressed out. And she's older. And the pace of my office is fast. And she's having trouble. And so she's getting angry. So I met with her 2 weeks ago and I said, what's bothering you? I hear you complain to everybody, but you didn't complain to me. Send me the email. She goes, well, I talked to so-and-so. I thought you talked. I go, I don't know every conversation. If I don't know, I can't help you. So I always link their problem with a solution, but I don't give them the solution. I have a form and I give it to the patient. And I said, or the patient or anybody.
Yeah. Okay.
I'll give it to you if you have a problem with me. I'll say to my employee, I said, right, fill out this form. It says, what happened? Why did it occur? What's your part in it? And what can you do to make it better? And I said, if you can't figure out what to make it better, what can I do to help you make it better? And I make them fill that out. Nobody fills it out, but I tell them to do it. It makes them responsible. So I gave it to her and I said, you come up with some solutions to your problems. I said, and if you can't come up with the solution, I'll help you. So it was 2 weeks ago. I was out of town last week. I didn't see her. So last night, it was late night. It was 7:00. She's still cleaning up because she's slow and I had some work to do. So I said, let's talk. And we talked for a half hour. And a lot of the problems she figured out, but not all of them. She did not know that I was there to help her. She did not know because she doesn't understand that. She doesn't understand human nature. And we had that conversation. I said, you're not very good about understanding people. You think I'm too busy. I'm not too busy to ever help you. I go, part of my culture index is I'm always available to help. And that's who busy people are. Like you, Steve, you're always available. I mean, you'll take the call. I mean, busy people will help you. So just know that my goal is to get you healthy and happy. And if you're not in the right position to do that, or if this is not the right office for you, I'll find you another job in this office. But if I can't, then you're going to know it's not the right place, then you'll leave. I said, but one thing I do know is you're a phenomenal hygienist and you're great at what you do. I said, I also know that you have a hard time with the computer. The pace bothers you, but that's going to change in a year. And you look around at the people that are in this office and they're all happy to be here. This is a place of love, connectivity, and we do it with our patients. We love our patients. We love our team. There's a lot of love in our office. And really, love is the solution for all this. It sounds a little corny, a little trite, but it's right here in the heart.
No, I got you.
I can't put a protocol out and make people be nice, but I can treat them really well. And yes, we have a morning meeting every meeting. And I'll give you some take home. We have a morning meeting. It's like we'll go over the patients just like everybody else does. What's on the schedule quickly? What happened yesterday that we need to talk? Whose birthday is it today? Who do we got to give special acknowledgement to, et cetera? And we go through all that stuff. And I have a running list that I keep. And it's a Word document that's on the main drive. They all have they all have access to it. So any little things that come up, we got to call this patient, we got to do this person, okay, all that's there. And then we end it. And this is what's sort of cool. We have a book of dad jokes, and then we pass a dad joke around, and they're stupid. Okay, they're really dumb jokes. And I have somebody read them, usually somebody who's uncomfortable speaking publicly. We read them and we tell the joke and we laugh. And then I have a spiritual book, and it's something about human connectivity. And they're pretty cool. I got them when I was down, they're from Brene Brown, and I got them when I was down in Houston recently. And I hand it to someone, I go, pick one, and they read it. And yesterday it was about human connectivity. And then we'll talk about it. And then someone will explain what they think. And then it's sort of like around Thanksgiving when you say, what are you grateful for? We have that little gratitude piece. And I usually give about a 30 to 45 second chat with them about how fortunate I feel that I am here with all of you. And we are lucky that we get to do this on a daily basis, that we get to serve other people. And then we get to get out of ourselves, because that's the solution to our lives, is to get out of ourselves and to help others. And when we do that, it's not about the money. It's just about doing this. I say we're privileged to do this. And I'm glad that at 71, I can still talk, walk, and get back there and help people. So that's my gratitude. So we do this gratitude thing. And it's sincere. It's real.
Sure.
And when I'm not there, it doesn't get done. But somebody has to do that. And I always buy them lunch. Every time I'm in the office, they buy whatever lunch they want. We feed the whole team. And that's great. So that little gratitude or the joke or something just sort of lightens it and sets an intention for the day.
Well, I got to tell you, we've done many of these. This has been fascinating for me. I'm hoping I can actually get you back.
Happy to anytime. I mean, I love this. Okay, this is my passion.
Before I let you go, there's one important thing we didn't discuss.
Yeah.
We never got back to the pepper, the hot pepper.
This is like a Larry David. We're going to wrap it up right now. So we talk about this all the time. I've known Steve. Steve and I are not close friends, but we could be. But people like you and I, when we connect, it's like we just know each other our whole lives. We have the same philosophy. I mean, how many lectures have I had back twice to my study club?
I don't know.
Okay.
Yeah.
4.
Okay.
Steve Rasner, Kirk Barron of Act Dental. Do you know him?
No.
He's a pretty well-known guy. Pascal Magnier, Dennis Tarnow. Those are the only ones that came back.
I call that Hall of Fame.
All right. There you go. So anyway, so you came to take the course. I used to run the implant course that was early on in implant dentistry. It's got to be 30 years ago. You came up and took a program, and then we took everybody out to dinner, and we went to this little restaurant. And it was one of my favorite little tiny restaurants. Unfortunately, it's not there anyway. And Eve ordered the pepper because I love hot peppers. They go, they're hot. And they put them out there, and they had garlic on them. They were these long hots with a little bit of cheese, provolone cheese that came out with them. And the waiter said, be careful, they're hot. And you go, that's okay, I like hot. And you bit into it. And it was so hot, it took you about 3 or 4 minutes to catch your breath. You're grabbing the water right now. So it brings that subliminally, it's going back there. You started drinking water, and you coughed, and you coughed. And my wife and I looked at you, and I felt bad. And my wife starts laughing hysterically. Because, some people laugh when they see something like that. I mean, I'm sensitive to it. She's like laughing. And you get up. And every time we go to that restaurant, my wife always says, remember when Steve had the hot pepper?
Well, there you go. I actually, not a giant fan of hot peppers. I didn't know why. I think I just remembered why.
Yeah.
Oh, my God. Well, listen, Michael, you're a class act.
Thank you. So are you.
You are a role model for, I'm telling you, I have thousands of followers that follow this podcast. And by the way, it's a privilege to have you take anything from me. And I feel honored that you and I are connected. And I really mean it. I hope to have you back. You're a class act. Thank you so much.
My pleasure. Thank you for having me on.
Okay. Talk soon.